It was almost fun at first. I mean, I got to stay home all day and suddenly had so much more free time. I can finally work on passion projects and learn to do all the things I said I would. I said to myself excitedly back then. And oh, the sleep. I finally got to sleep in after weeks of waking up early. So if you told that same me that I would actually miss being able to wake up early, that me would have laughed, huddled the blanket closer, and turned to face the wall. It happened right as school was starting to pick up pace too, so the break was very quickly welcomed. To say I may have reveled in it would have been a severe understatement. Someone had described it like that feeling you get after Christmas, but way before New Year's. Like, you didn't really know what to do. Like, the world had hit a temporary roadblock, and there wasn't an officer to guide you to the road you could drive on. And in a lot of ways, the world really did hit a roadblock. The difference, however, from this and the weeks leading up to New Year's is that we didn't know when it was gonna end. I remember that during the first week or so, I had a day counter, crudely written on a post it note that refused to stick to anything. It was meant to count the days until lockdown was lifted. I don't quite know where it went after the third week. I can't say with full confidence that being stuck inside was entirely bad thing. For me, at least. I mean, I got to be closer to people I never would have had the chance to otherwise. You see, I'm somewhat of a traditionalist when it came with conversations. I had to see them face to face. I'd end up being even more awkward when talking to someone only by voice. But this lockdown situation kind of forced me to get used to all some fancy doohickeys that my friends and I now use to talk nearly every day. Despite that, and not even taking into account of the raging virus outside, it still was absolutely not a good thing. Right, school was still ongoing and it was going to be held on our trusted friend, the internet. And I hated that. Still do, actually. I just slipped into a sort of normalcy with it, so it's tolerable nowadays. It wasn't really noticeable when it first started, but I definitely developed some very bad working habits. Before the pandemic, since I'd just come from school, I would be elated to just get in bed. Slightly bummed at the prospect of still having to do homework. But during the pandemic, I was at home all day and had nearly the same amount of energy throughout the day. This, coupled with the point that I could do my modules at nearly any time of the day, just as long as it met the deadline, I developed the bad habit of waiting until the night to do my school activities, which led to a lot of sleep deprivation. A lot of it. Remember when I said I missed waking up early? Yeah. When it got to the point where every single day was just grinding away at me, weekends merged with weekdays, holidays would pass by, and I barely notice. Lessons would amalgamate into this entity that simultaneously made me overwhelmed and underwhelmed. I was going through modules so quickly, but my mind would retain none of it. What made some days even heavier was when I found out about what the outside world had been doing seemingly while I slept. You know, waking up to racism, politics, bad ones, and a lot of deaths made it harder to get out of bed. Oops, guess I'm oscillating between not enough sleep and far too much sleep. Pretty sure I ruined an organ or two. If not, I surely shortened my lifespan. My memory is a blur from the beginning of this debacle to the present, but I know that so much of my time was spent leaning back on my chair, staring at the ceiling, not really thinking about anything because I knew that that was the calmest my mind could get. This whole event, this whole thing, was definitely an all time low for me. And from here on out, I'm gonna have to work myself out of this state I've gotten myself into. After this project, because I'm literally recording at 12:21 a.m.